I'm Chuck Stokes, and welcome to the historic Grand Hotel here on Mackinac Island. We're at the 2017 Mackinac Policy Conference. This is a very historic place. Lots of memories here for those who visit this, and one of the top tourist attractions in the nation. We're going to have a special 1-hour webcast. We will be talking to a hodgepodge, a smorgasbord, if you will, of people from all walks of life, all different professions that are here at the Policy Conference, trying to give us some sense of what this conference is about, the importance of it, and what's happening in the Southeast Michigan region, but not just limited to that, also to our entire state. The Chamber is very, very forceful about saying this is a statewide conference now, and it's reflective in their programming. And kicking everything off here are two people who are dead in the middle of all of the renaissance and excitement that's going on in the city of Detroit. And to my left is Tom Middlebrun. He is with NECA, and also sitting next to him is Michael Ritchie. He is with IBEW. And welcome to the Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island, the Policy Conference.
We're happy to be here.
I wanted to kick it off with the two of you. First of all, thank you for sponsoring this webcast. But more importantly is because of the fact that so much is going on, and the people at home, I think a lot of times don't think about the fact that it's really falling on your two organizations because you're having to keep up with all of the renaissance and all of the renovations that we see going on. Let me start with you. How's this affecting you?
Well, you know, as you mentioned, it's a very busy time, and one of the challenges we have is, of course, keeping our workforce available. So we have a great training facility in Warren, 60,000 square foot facility where we train apprentices in a variety of classifications. Plus, we also keep our journeymen up to date on all the changes in our technology.
Right. For people at home who don't know what NECA is, what is it?
NECA is the National Electrical Contractors Association, and I work here in Michigan.
All right, very good then. All right, and Michael Richard, you're with IBEW.
Sure.
For people at home, I know because I'm in the business dealing with IBEW folks all the time, but for people at home, what is IBEW?
It's the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. We represent electricians, technicians, and the best cameramen in the business.
All right, very good. What are you feeling? What are your workers feeling these days? Can you keep up with all this happening?
We can keep up. It's a bit of a chore, but it's a challenge we're up for. And as Tom said, we've got a state-of-the-art training facility. We're bringing them in. We've got over 500 apprentices in the program now. I see us getting pretty close to that max capacity, which is about 725 is our peak. I can see us getting close to that, if not hitting it. So the good thing is everybody's working.
That's a wonderful thing, no doubt about it. Yeah, and that's what we always talk about. Jobs, jobs, and more jobs. But sometimes you got to be careful what you ask for, right?
Absolutely. It's creating a lot of opportunities for us, and we've got a lot of the baby boomers, like every workforce is experiencing it. They're retiring, so it's creating opportunities for the younger members to come in. We've got some great programs going on right now. We have a pre-apprenticeship, which is opening up opportunities for maybe kids that normally wouldn't qualify to get in the apprenticeship program. We run them through a pre-apprenticeship. We give them a great opportunity to get into the program.
And for a young person that may be watching this webcast and thinking, okay, that might be a profession I want, that may be a route I want to go, what kind of qualifications do they need to have, and how do they even get an entranceway to the door? What's the process?
Well, first they need a high school degree or a GED.
Okay.
And in our industry, in electricity, math is very important. Mm-hmm. We do have a nice program called Touchpoint that our business development director handles. That we work with the counselors of the high schools to bring high school students that are interested in the trades, and we have them there for a full day. The parents are welcome. Everybody gets to see our facility and have a hands-on experience.
Okay. Now, I know enough from our own business that when young people come in and they apply, that one of the first things they have to do is go through a certain degree of testing. They have to make sure that they can pass drug tests and things of that nature. They have to pass the background checks and everything. That's something that you are particularly concerned with, I'm hearing, because of some legislation or a petition drive that may be starting, and that they're out there right now collecting petitions to be able to have the marijuana issue on the ballot.
Well, yeah, our customers demand a drug-free and alcohol-free workforce, and so we've got to live up to what they're expecting from us. So, along with our contractor partners, we made a decision to implement the drug testing as a prerequisite to get into the apprenticeship program. We didn't have it for a long time. Our members are subjected to drug testing, they're subjected to random testing, and it's a customer requirement. They're demanding it, we've got to live up to it. So with this legislation making the possibility of recreational marijuana and marijuana more accessible, it's some concern, because these are dangerous work sites. You can imagine the pace that's going on right now at that arena downtown. It's hot and heavy. They got a deadline to meet.
And the guys who I see walking the beams and all sorts of other things.
Absolutely, and so you cannot be on that job site under the influence of anything. It's imperative.
Do you all think that young people today realize that and understand how important of an issue that is? Because what they're hearing, certainly for people out trying to get signatures for this, is that this is going to bring in a whole lot of money for Michigan, the way it did for Colorado and other places, and we're going to be the beneficiaries of that. But you say that may be true, but there's another side to it.
Well, that's why we're out here talking to you, Chuck. We want to get the word out that in our industry we have those requirements that Mike was mentioning, and this is management and labor working together to serve our customers, and a lot of our customers are here today, or I should say this week at the Mackinac Conference.
Okay. You just mentioned the new arena coming up. That's going to be a big thing with opening up with the Red Wings and the Pistons coming from Auburn Hills back to the city of Detroit. When you look at the skyscraper of this city and how it's changing and everything, what concerns, if you have any concerns, or just what's sort of the future that you talk about from your side of the fence? Because I noticed the other day, I go downtown a lot, and I'm always amazed now in the last year or so, the buildings that I see that have been there for years, and I didn't notice them before, but now that everything is changing, you see that building and you say, wow, where'd that building come from? Then you realize that building's probably been there for 100 years, but it's popping out, it's shining now.
It's so nice to see them renovating so many of those historical buildings. I used to work in one, the old Book Tower, for a long time, and I know they're in the process of redoing that one. And I thought the mayor did a nice job in his presentation talking about how we have to design this city smartly.
He got everyone's attention.
To really make sure it works well. You don't just want to throw things together. You got to do it thoughtfully, and I think they're doing a good job.
All right, Michael, I'm going to give you the last word on that.
Well, I tell you, it's exciting for us to see the cranes downtown. That means there's men and women working under those cranes.
Progress.
Absolutely, and it's really exciting as we're talking about building a building bigger than the Renaissance Center to be the next. Will be the tallest building in the city of Detroit. We have not built a building that size in decades. So just to see that come is exciting stuff, and with that is a lot of development, a lot of people moving back downtown.
And you know when that's going to look particularly good is when the Stanley Cup playoffs are going on next year, or when the Pistons are playing for that NBA title next year,
there
right?
You go.
Absolutely.
You got to be optimistic. I want to see that skyscraper shot for the helicopter.
That's right.
And
They'll
the
be
national
showcasing
broadcast.
the city. Yep.
All right, as well as the Grand Prix. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. Certainly appreciate all that you're doing.
Thanks, Chuck.
And we'll stay in touch with you.
Thank you for having us.
All right, thank you. You can go ahead and take your mics off. And this is like old-time television. They watch, they see everything happening. Wesley Heath, our wonderful photographer here, is the assistant. Coming up is a woman that you've probably seen for many, many times, Faye Nelson. She is with GTE Energy. Faye's going to come right on in. Where is Faye? I know she's around here, sir. Right here. Faye, we're ready for you. Yeah, Faye's networking over there, always working for DTE. Yeah. Good. But Faye Nelson, those of you who have been around for quite some time, remember her in the job that she played a key role in this city. She was over the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. She left the Riverfront Conservancy, transitioned over to DTE Energy, their foundation, and she hasn't missed a beat. So when you're walking up and down the river there and you can see it and you can walk up and down there, which you couldn't do 20 years ago, you can thank this lady for that. Now you've moved your talents over to DTE. First of all, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful, and it's so good to be with you.
It's a pleasure being with you. You've been at this conference a number of times. Your impression this year, because you've been exposed to these issues on different levels so many different times.
Well, it's another year, another conference. But what I think we are talking about this year, which is of great importance to me, is education. We have a generation of our youth that we have all got to do everything we can to support them and to lift them up. And I'm so concerned about the state of affairs in the city of Detroit as far as our education system is concerned. So,
have you had a chance to talk to Dr. Vitti yet?
I have not, but I plan to.
Okay, all right.
He's quite the popular man, as you would imagine.
He is. He's been making the rounds up here, meeting the movers and shakers.
Yeah. So we are scheduling, but we're so concerned because we know at the end of the day that no matter what we as a company, we as a foundation, we as individuals, no matter how much we lean in, Chuck, if we don't really circle the wagon and target this critical area of education, you know, I'm just so concerned about just Detroit in general, but more importantly, our children. So the education conversation is very important to me, and it's one that I was very glad to see take place here, just in terms of introducing the new superintendent and beginning that dialogue as far as where he is, where, you know, directionally where he's moving, and, you know, having conversations with a number of my colleagues in the corporate and foundation space as far as the importance of education.
DTE Energy Foundation is involved in so many different things, but if I said Faye Nelson, that corporation's priority list right now for you and the foundation, what would it be? I
would say two main areas we are leaning in on pretty aggressively this year, and that is education and employment. Okay. If you think about from a foundation perspective, we have and will continue to fund many of the nonprofits throughout the state, as we say, in the communities where we live and serve, supporting such critical areas as basic need, arts and culture, economic development, but it's that education and employment space that we see that is so critical to be filled if we're really talking about a true revitalization and sustainability of communities. So we have a number of very exciting initiatives underway right now that we're funding. I say from an employment standpoint, I'm always excited to talk about our children and jobs. And so we've really supporting in a pretty significant way the Mayor's Grow Detroit Young Talent Program. Through the foundation funding, we are providing 500 young people with jobs this summer as part of the Grow Detroit program. And we're so excited to be working in partnership with our corporate and foundation partners, and of course the mayor and his team, in bringing this program back again this year. The goal is 8,000 jobs, and I know they will make it. So we're excited and we're happy, not only because these young people will have a chance to earn a paycheck.
Right.
And that's so important.
Well, that's so important. It's
so
important for self-esteem.
It's so important.
It's important for providing what they need for themselves and for those who may have families as well. And it's just giving them that sense of confidence that I've worked hard, I've gotten my education, now I want some of that payoff, and I want to become part of the fabric of this state and this community.
Helping them to understand that, helping them, for some of the young people, because the age range is from 14 to 24, some of them, this is their very first job. And so helping them to earn that paycheck and also providing them with a meaningful experience and the support that they need in order to be successful at what they do. So it's a great program. We're excited, and we're not only funding programs, youth employment programs in Detroit, but we're also supporting programs in Pontiac and Inkster and on the west side of the state in Grand Rapids and Muskegon and Traverse City. So that's a big initiative for us, youth employment, and we are excited and we're committed, and we will do everything that we can to support our youth in this space.
Well,
so I think about that as bookends. You know, not only our young people, but also our
big bookends.
Big
bookends.
Big bookends, but also we are partnering with another organization that's extremely exciting, and that's with the Greening of Detroit, and they are really targeting our structurally unemployed adults, those individuals that are challenged from an employability standpoint, are returning citizens, those that have major literacy issues. And so we're funding a program that will, once they've completed, once they are complete and receive their certification, they will be able to be in the early part of skilled trade. They will be tree trimmers or landscape experts. And so we're excited. It's important. We're funding not only the training, but wraparound services that these individuals, or support that these individuals need as well. And so we want to, again, do everything we can to support our community, because the reality is people need jobs.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
they need work. And so we're all in and just really excited.
Quick final question.
Sure.
I know we got a lineup of folks here. One thing that people can visually see
I know.
going up and changing around the DTE World Headquarters is this new park.
We're so excited.
Everybody's
about
been
the
talking
park.
about Campus Martius Park, which is wonderful, but Campus Martius Park is getting ready to have a rival park.
Well, let me tell you something.
Right? Oh, you're going to outdo Campus Martius. Okay, you got it here first. DTE said Campus Martius, move over, because you haven't seen a park till you see the park they're getting ready to do.
You know what we say, bring it on.
Bring it on.
But it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. It's a beautiful public space. We're so excited about bringing, you know, this space to the community, for the community to enjoy, year-round programming. And we see the park not only as a wonderful place and space for families and our visitors, but also it will continue to serve as a driver, or will serve as a driver for economic development.
And if you haven't seen it, you take the lodge, take the Bagley exit, get out, make a couple turns right over there near the MGM Grand Casino, and the cranes, everything's in the ground there. When's it opening up?
Well, we're expecting it to open this summer.
This summer.
And
all right,
so
another
we just
park.
Can't wait. That's right.
All right, very good. Faye Nelson, thank you so much. Always a pleasure talking to you. Travel safe back home.
Thank you. Take
All right,
care.
very
Bye-bye.
good, very good. You can go ahead and just take that off. And we got some more guests coming up here. Let's see, who is next? We'll let you know. We've got to see Tom Watkins back there and Dr. Herman Gray. We're going to get them on. Okay. Hi there. Is Bill there too? Okay, all right. We're going to get them on here. All right, we got Bill Wild, and then, yep. Come on here. Okay. We got Bill Wild. Bill Wild is the mayor of Westland. We're going to spend a couple minutes with him. And then we've got, right after him, we got Tom Watkins and Herman Gray. We're going to put you on together. We're going to have a good thing. Mayor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. So I hear you've been doing a lot of talk about it's about the cities, it's about the cities, it's about the cities, and you've been very concerned that the cities have not been getting their fair shake for the weight that they have to carry. Is that correct?
Yeah, you know, since 2002, the state of Michigan, the legislature has actually disinvested in cities through state share revenue of over $8 billion, with a B, $8 billion. At the same time, as the state's economy starting to come back, you know, the cities are also facing policy problems, or policy decisions with Proposition A and Headley, which have also made it tough for cities to as they start to recover from the
and that's impacted Westland without a doubt.
You know, Westland's a great example. We're the 10th largest city in the state. Just 2 years ago, you know, we came through the recession. We were able to downsize our operations, get innovative. We built up a 3-year balanced budget. Now here we are 3 years later, and we're struggling to put together a balanced budget again, just because of the revenue coming into the cities. It's just not there. We're one of the large cities, so I worry about the small cities as well.
Yeah. Your message to Lansing and to Washington.
Well, today we're up on Mackinac Island. We're talking to Lansing. We're talking to the legislators. You know, our cities have to be a priority. You know, if we really want to truly be a top 10 state like the Michigan business leaders are talking about, we have to invest in our cities. Our cities are our economic engines. That's where 80% of the state's GDP comes from. That's where people live. That's where businesses invest.
All right. I think they've heard the message. And what's in the future for the mayor of Westland? You gonna stay right there, or you got some higher aspirations?
Well, you know, I really enjoy being mayor of Westland. It's really given me a lot of experience. You know, it's something I'm going to keep an eye. If there's something I think I can make a difference at,
all right.
I'll come back and let you know, Chuck.
We're not going to make you commit right here on WXYZ.com. All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always a pleasure talking with you.
You too.
All right. Mayor of Westland, Bill Wild. And coming up, Tom Watkins and Dr. Herman Gray. Right? Herman Gray. And then we're going to have the council president of the city of Detroit, Brenda Jones, in just a minute. So don't go away. I'm sure she's going to have some interesting things to say about what's happening in the city of Detroit. Okay, we're going. Okay, we're going. Tom, we're ready for you. Tom's doing social media pictures here, you know, as if he didn't have enough billboards going on there. And we're doing it. Okay. Is Herman Gray there? Yeah. You can bring Dr. Gray in. Herman, come on in. Yeah, we can do two at a time.
Two at a time. I can share with them.
No, you never stop. We just keep on. We're like a good watch. It just keeps right on ticking. You know, you're seeing it in the raw here, but that's really representative of this conference. This happens for 3 days strong. People come up to you, you see them move, you see them shake.
Thank you, sir.
Hundreds, thousands probably of conversations.
Good to see you.
People at home sometimes think a lot of things don't get done here. Trust me, more happens in 3 days here than sometimes all year long in terms of relationships and deal making and fighting for the things that you at home say you're very concerned about. Tom Watkins, good seeing you. Dr. Herman Gray, good seeing you.
Great to be here and great to see you.
Talk a little bit about your organizations and your input here at the conference and what you've been impressed with and what you've seen here. Dr. Gray?
You know, first of all, I'm an introvert by nature, and so being around this many people all at the same time, all talking at the same time.
Maybe I can help you out here.
A medical doctor who's an introvert.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need mental health work. But seriously, United Way arguably is the leading nonprofit in our community, and as such, we have really, I think, pretty significant responsibility to make connections. And one of our strengths is making connections and convening people. And so many of our corporate partners, and we have literally hundreds of them, are here for the week. And so talking with our board members, talking with those leaders that have corporate social responsibility programming that lines up with that of the United Ways. But more importantly, just talking about what the issues are in our community that we need to collectively address, work more efficiently on a collaborative basis. So for us, particularly with this year's agenda for economic prosperity, we're all over workforce development, particularly for young people. So the Growing to Detroit's Young Talent program that the mayors initiated some years ago is a big focus of ours this year. And we're in 15 high schools in Detroit, creating college and career pathways, industry-themed schools in the high schools.
It sounds like the mayor's had a whole lot of conversations with a whole lot of movers and shakers about creating jobs in young people.
He is very focused on it. Very focused on
Which
it.
is very
and
important.
From our point of view, obviously, that's a really good thing.
Sure. And I say it kiddingly, but it's very, very serious. And it's
Small
nice
percentage
to
of
it's nice to see that passion that's there.
Yeah.
Tom Watkins, I saw a bunch of billboards as I was driving up here to Mackinac, and it dealt with mental health and a serious message that you were trying to send.
A very serious message. Detroit Wayne Mental Health Authority, we serve over 80,000 people in our community, people with serious mental illness, intellectual and developmental disabilities, persons with substance use disorders. And there's a big move on right now to move those dollars from the public side, which has been in the public side since JFK's day, for over 50 years, providing quality service with a local community board. And there's a push to move that money from the public side to the private side, and some would say profitizing human misery and moving things over to the health insurance. We certainly want to partner with our end, similar to United Way, build great, strong community partnerships, but we want to assure that those dollars stay in our community and are invested in high-quality mental health services, not transferred over to the private insurance companies. And so there's somebody, I'm not sure who put those billboards up, but there's some billboards across the...
I have a funny feeling you have a little hunch of who put them up.
But really to educate people about how important this is, because when we talk about it, and certainly with United Way, we're not talking about those people. We're talking about our family members, our fathers, our mothers, our sisters, our brothers, our sons, our daughters. And when these issues hit, you better help and hope that the United Way is there, or these public institutions, which are really the safety net within our community.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to ask Dr. Gray. It's this safety net.
Yeah.
How prepared are we in Southeast Michigan and in Michigan for this safety net? Because as we create economic opportunity, not everybody is going to fit into that. By profession, you're concerned with that because you're a medical doctor, but you've now made this transition over into more of an advocacy organization that looks out for the safety net.
Well, yeah, we live, in the midst of a city that has the highest poverty rate for children, as an example, of any major city in the country. And the consequences of that are, inescapable, and you have to address them head on. And United Way was formed 100 years ago. We're actually having our 100th birthday this year. Was formed because everybody doesn't, get the same opportunities or are able to take advantage of the same opportunities equally. So there are those who do well, but then there are many who don't do so well. And United Way is very familiar with the notion of the so-called working poor. Federal poverty levels, as an example, define what the federal poverty is, but it doesn't define at all what it takes to actually live as a family. And that level is much higher, and so a significant percentage of our community lives underneath the level where they can actually take care of all their daily bills. At least 40% of Southeast Michigan finds themselves in that category. And so the sort of silent majority, many of those expressed themselves in the last federal election. Those are people who are struggling mightily with mental health issues, with physical health issues, and with the ability to just meet their daily expenses.
Final question. I'm going to start with you, and if you want to weigh in on it, Dr. Gray, you can. One of the pillars of this conference was political civility. Dr. Gray, his whole facial expression changed. Your message,
well, we got to
whether it's Lansing or it's Washington.
We have to find a way to get along. I mean, what Dr. Gray was just speaking about, when cuts come from Washington or the state, they have a way of trickling down. And the importance of having the private and the public partnerships working together, Democrats and Republicans, because when you're poor, when you're mentally ill, when you're intellectually, developmentally disabled, you're going to come and you're going to need people to solve that problem. We have a lot of problems in our city, our region, our state, and in our nation that are best solved when we can find a way. There's a time for partisanship, but there's also a time, I think, to buckle down, find ways to find common ground, to find a shared vision and a common agenda, which is about lifting up our city, our region, our state, and our nation. And when we come together, good things can happen.
Dr. Gray, can we agree to disagree, but also be respectful?
Well, that is certainly my hope and prayer, because what's happening in our country and our community right now is very troubling. We are not heading in a direction that looks like there's anybody who really wants to compromise, to speak civilly. That we have these bitter partisan divides that really polarize the country. We need to, and the name of our organization is United Way. We need to figure out how to agreeably disagree, how to look at those problems identified by Tom and say those problems are bigger than individual parties, and that we need all the collective wisdom of our people to solve them. And so you may have a bright idea, you may have a bright idea, I may have a bright idea. Listen to each other. And I think that these community conversations, nonpartisan community conversations, if we can have them, are really important for us to emphasize this notion of stability, because it's slipping away. It's really slipping away.
And it hurts us all.
Yes.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Tom Watkins, Detroit, Wayne County Mental Health Authority, and Dr. Herman Gray of United Way. Thank you for joining us as well. It's a pleasure having you with us. We're going to continue this webcast at WXYZ.com. The City Council President of the City of Detroit, Brenda Jones. She's hobnobbing with Faye Nelson right now. Council President? Stephanie, can you get Council President? We're ready. We're trying to get them in here. Lots of conversations going on all the time. They never stop at this Mackinac Policy Conference, and that's what it's supposed to do, is facilitate back and forth conversations between our leaders, whether it's political, community, business, you name it. But a lot of talk about the mayor of the city of Detroit. He has a partner that he works very closely with, and her name is Brenda Jones. She is the president of the Detroit City Council. They work together very closely. Sometimes they probably have conversations that they would prefer that we in the media don't hear, and they've been pretty darn good these last few years at keeping us at bay whenever they may have those conversations. And I guess that's what it's all about, be able to do what you have to do from your various perspectives and not let us get in your business, so to speak. Council President, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me here. And let me just say to you that one of the things that I vouched to do when I became City Council President was not to have public arguments or disagreements with the mayor. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see
And you've kept your word on that.
And it's important. It's important to me. I know what I've seen in the past. I know what I've heard from people in the city. Nobody wants to see that. We want the city to move forward. I want to see one Detroit. I always say there is one Detroit. Chuck, my button. What does my button say?
It says one Detroit.
One Detroit. And I believe that we have to get to the point where we have every citizen believing that there is one Detroit. Right now, people are saying there's two Detroits. People are saying there's a Detroit midtown, downtown, and then the community. We need to get to the point where every citizen in the city of Detroit believes that there is one Detroit. And we're not talking about it, we are being about it.
The mayor made a presentation yesterday. It's gotten great reviews here. One thing I'm hearing is that the budget's looking pretty good right now. What was it? I figure I heard was a $63 million surplus. But the question is, what should be done with that surplus? And what are your thoughts?
So, Chuck, let me just say this to you. There are a lot of things that I feel can be done. We think $63 million is a lot of money. And when you look at the amount of money that was taken away from people who retired, our pensioners, who felt that they worked 20, 25 years, 30 years, thought they were going to have a good retirement with health insurance that they could live off of, and that's not happening. One of the things I asked the mayor, if the city at some point could look at some type of plan where we even just pay a portion of health care for our retirees. There's a group plan where the city pays a portion, what the city can afford to pay. It beats nothing. And there's a plan that everyone can join. If there is a plan that everyone can join, the rates would be less expensive. That's one thing I would like to see. I'd like to see us go back to our retirees and try to fix some of the things that we've taken away. I would like to see us continue to work on safety issues in the city of Detroit. I've seen a poll where unemployment has went down. I believe in my heart that if we continue to work with employment in the city of Detroit and getting people hired, if we work with educating people, then we'll see the crime numbers go down. And so we need safe streets. we need good education. And so there's a lot $63 million can do.
Well, you know, I passed you in a parking lot, and we were talking about, you know, the crime rate and everything, and you were saying one thing that really gets you is when people are always talking about, well, the overall crime rate is down, but homicide is up. And she said we need to quit saying that because if you've dealt with a homicide, well, that's pretty darn devastating. Correct. And you don't really care about whether or not crime may be down in other areas.
That's correct. I think that homicide is the most important crime there is when you take someone's life away. That is the most important crime there is. And to hear about a homicide, sometimes it's daily. It seems as though I'm hearing about it. We have to do more. I think we are doing things, but we have to do more. And the chief, I have to give him credit, has been hiring police officers. Mm-hmm. We're looking at, I want to say 30 police officers a month. Okay. But the other thing you look at is how much money our police officers paid. And when you still look at $63 million, we're losing police officers that go through the best training, and that's the City of Detroit training, to other suburban areas because they can make more money in other suburban areas. So we have to also look and address how much our police officers pay. And if it's equal or any place close to what they are making in other suburban areas, we have to look at transportation. Transportation, as you know, regional transportation did not pass. But I feel that it didn't pass because everybody was not educated the way they should have been educated. Not in Detroit, but everywhere.
You think you can bring Macomb County along if everybody is educated in the right way?
Yes, and I think that includes educating Macomb County. Because when you have regional transportation, it's not going to just help Detroit. It's going to help everyone everywhere. And I think that that's something we have to make sure everyone understands. And so the message to me was not clear enough for everyone to understand. The message did not have a buy-in from everyone. So because it did not have a buy-in from a lot of people, there were a lot of people that were not in favor of it. Even our union from Detroit, our bus drivers, they had some issues with it because there were missed messages that were being sent.
Right.
And so I think that it's a point where we have time now to get everybody on board and to make sure everybody is educated properly the way they need to be educated and all the questions are being answered.
I don't know of anybody who, for such a long period of time, has fought as hard for neighborhoods as you have. Your thoughts about where we are in terms of rebuilding our neighborhoods and making Detroit neighborhoods the model of the country down the line.
And I think it's very important that we rebuild our neighborhoods. I think it's very important that, and as you know, Chuck, I was one that have been working on the Community Benefits Agreement ordinance for a long time. We do have a Community Benefits Agreement ordinance, and very proud to say we are the first municipality in the United States with an ordinance. But what was important to me that we missed out a lot on this Community Benefits Agreement ordinance is that we go to the communities and talk directly to the communities regardless to what type of development that are coming into that community. If you are using taxpayers' dollars, you should be talking to the taxpayers in that community to find out what they want in their community to be able to help and assist them. This ordinance does not do exactly that in a lot of areas. And to me, that's so important. What you want in your neighborhood in the city of Detroit could be very different from what I want in my neighborhood in the city of Detroit. And if you're coming in and doing development in that community and you're investing in that community, I think it would help you as a developer, as an investor, to talk to the community to see what the community would like, because most definitely you want the community to support your development.
Madam President, the other day I had a conversation here at the Mackinac Policy Conference with Mayor Bliss of Grand Rapids. And she was so pro Detroit and so pro we have to work together, East versus West. And she had no room in her conversation for division whatsoever, and said that she's willing, ready, and able to partner with Detroit and cities in any way, shape, form that she can. Have you had an opportunity to have a conversation with her, and are you interested, or you may have already been over to Grand Rapids to see what you can do over on that side in bettering the relationship?
I have not had conversation with her. I am very interested in having conversation with any and everyone. The one thing I believe is if there is a strong Detroit, then we have a strong Michigan. And having a major city such as Detroit with all types of population in the city of Detroit, not just African Americans, you have a certain section that is Hispanic. You have a certain area that is Arabic. I think that if we can partner together and work together, it would make a better Michigan. And so, yes, I am interested in talking to her. I am interested in talking to anyone who wants to sit down and talk and say to everyone, let's work together.
All right. And your final thought on this webcast about this conference, or just about the city that you love so much?
My final thought is this. I think that if we all work together for one Detroit, for one Michigan, we work together to try to improve our community. Not worry about what's going on in somebody else's community, but what's going on in our community. It takes a village to raise, it takes an individual to help raise a village. And so if everyone do their part, then we'll be a much stronger city. The one thing that I continue to talk about, Chuck, is neighborhoods, as you have said. I continue to talk about education, because we have to have great schools in the city of Detroit in order to attract younger people, because no one is going to want to come and move into the city of Detroit to raise a family if you don't have good schools. And so I'm saying that and I'm breaking it down, but let me just break it down to you easy.
Okay.
Jones, jobs, opportunities, neighborhoods, education, and safety. I can't break it down no easier than that.
Council President Brenda Jones, thank you so much.
You, Chad.
We'll remember what Jones truly stands for.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so very much.
It's always a pleasure
Always
talking
a pleasure
to you.
talking to you and being with you, Chuck.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Okay, we're going to get the mic off of you in 1 second. Okay, Council President Brenda Jones, and who's next? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, tell them, come on up. Just bring them on up. Yep. Okay. We, as you can see, a lot going. You probably can't see what's happening behind you, but believe me, there's a whole lot going on behind you. Some people scheduled for this webcast. Some people just mingling, watching the webcast, and some people having their own individual conversations. This is the really final full day of the Mackinac Policy Conference. Tomorrow is a relatively very, very short day because right after that, people will be heading back for the Grand Prix. Major event, getting world attention. Coming up next is John Ricotta. John Ricotta, if you're a stranger to this town, you're going to be interested in hearing what he has to say. If you've been around for a while, you know that he's a man with a very, very different background, very successful background, and he's been involved both in business but also in the community. And we're ready to go. John, we're ready for you. Okay. Who's going? So we're gonna get John Ricotta right there. John, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm doing good.
What are we going to talk about today?
Whatever you want to talk about. How's that? We're gonna talk about some education.
Good.
And we'll talk a little bit about business. John Ricotta, very successful businessman, as I just referenced, of Walbridge. But I think he's become maybe even more famous in this town because of the civic hat that he's worn. He's been very involved with New Detroit. He's also been a fighter for Detroit Public Schools, and he was part of the panel that evaluated. Well, I'll let you tell him the role that you played with DPS and how you're closely watching it still.
Well, in the fall of 2014, a good friend of mine, Alice Thompson, head of Black Family Development, gave me a phone call and said, John, we're put together a coalition of 32 community leaders, and we have a crisis brewing at DPS. We'd like you to serve as a co-chair. My first reaction was, I'm sorry, Alice, but I know nothing about education. I'm a contractor. And she said, we need your voice, like your voice has been for New Detroit. And so I slept on it and prayed on it for a couple of days and finally said, you know, there's nothing more important to the future of our city than our children. And without a thriving education system, Detroit can't move forward. So I accepted, under the premise that this was going to be a 60-day assignment.
They lied to you, John.
So it did turn out to be a 60-day assignment.
Yeah.
It's now going on 3 years. But in the...
Any regrets at all?
None. It's been a fabulous journey. It's the kind of journey that everybody should take because you instantly see the inequities that the system has created. And these children just don't have a chance the way we're currently delivering education to them.
Have you had an opportunity to meet the new superintendent
I
yet?
have.
What did you tell him?
I told him that I'm a simple-minded guy, and I look for the things that I can fix quickly and what make a difference. And through the coalition, we identified 4 areas that I'm interested in. Area number 1 is absentee. The absentee rates are totally unacceptable. On average, Detroit school children miss 25% of the school days. That's 45 days a year. And I know that there is no way missing 45 days of school a year you can be proficient. You can't learn enough to move on to the next grade. And this is showing up in the proficiency rates where Detroit's children are only 9% of them are proficient. And we have 8 schools where the proficiency is 0. So this is staggering. So that's number 1. We've got to work on this absentee, and we have to come together as a community. Everybody. I know the problems. We all know what the problems are.
Yeah.
But if we accept
You're saying
the excuses,
we can't let the problem stand in the way of
exactly
solving them.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is special education. Right now, the district is losing $40 million a year on special education. Now, there's many reasons for it, but that $40 million, if it was put back into the classroom for the other children, the general population children, we would be spending $1,000 more per child in the classroom, and that factors into the fact that Detroit has the lowest spend in the classroom of any district in the entire state of Michigan.
Wow.
That's issue number 2. Issue number 3 is teachers and staff and administrators.
And pay.
And well, this works into it in pay.
Okay.
Right now, we are 850 positions open. 850 positions open. Of that 800,
need to be filled by September.
We've been short like this for years.
But I'm saying with a new superintendent coming in with all the goals that he talked to me
Yes,
about yesterday,
yes.
he's saying, I can't reach those goals if I don't get the amount of teachers that we need. He's complimentary of the teachers that have stayed in the system. They're here, but he said, I need a whole lot more.
He does. So we have to take a hard look at what I would call talent, and how do we encourage talent to come and to stay. Pay is only one of the number of issues that are involved in that. It's how they're received, it's the culture of the school system, it's how they're honored and respected. It's many, many things, and so we've got to change that. And then the final issue is the budget. So this year we have a $65 million surplus, which is great, but it's all a lot of one-time things. Part of it's the fact that we're not filled in the teacher category. Part of it is we've sold a lot of assets for a one-time basis. And so we've got to ensure that the budget is stable going out 10 years. And that in turn requires that we stop the student loss count. And we've lost students every single year for 20 years. We lost students this past year. And we're going to have this little reprieve because EAA is coming back in, which is about 5,000 students. But that's the fourth issue I told them about. And these are the things that we need to work on today and have them solved by next June.
Quick final question. You referenced earlier the involvement that you had when New Detroit chaired their board for a long time. We're involved with the very informal dinner conversations that you had, very diverse groups, very frank conversations.
Absolutely.
We're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the 67 unrest. If you could send a message to people out there about the importance of this anniversary, but also what you'd like to see going forward to make sure that we never ever have that again, what would it be?
My message would be the following. Number one, these conversations are essentially important because one of the things that hasn't taken place in society to the degree that I think is necessary is to be able to have blacks and white talk about race openly together. That's the first step. But then the second step, and what I would like to see going forward, is once we have those conversations, and we've had plenty of them, that we turn them into action. And we work on them so we can solve this issue of this great inequality in terms of access to health, access to education, access to opportunity, access to jobs.
John Rakota, thank you so much
Thanks
for your thoughts and for being so very, very candid.
Great, thanks
All
a
right,
lot.
it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Goodbye.
All right, John Rakota, remember the name. He's a man who says what he thinks and has a lot invested in this entire region. We've got some more folks coming up. I think I saw the owner of the Grand Hotel out there somewhere, and I think I think Dan Musser is next. All right, thank you so much. Yeah, come on in, Dan Musser. We go back a long, long way. Many, many visits to this island, many visits to the Grand Hotel. Sometimes on pleasure, but more often than not, working for WXYZ Channel 7. He welcomes us here every year. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Thanks for being here.
He's the president and CEO of the Grand Hotel. Speaking of anniversaries and celebrations, you're celebrating a special one this year.
This will be our 130th season.
130 seasons at this hotel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Our family's been here about 80 of those years.
Okay, so the majority.
The last 80 years.
The last 80 years. Those are good years. Then what's the secret? Because we're living in a world in which corporations like to have a whole lot up under them and multiple properties.
Sure. Yeah.
And those are the guys that you gotta compete with. I won't say do battle. I'll say
we compete
with.
friendly. Yeah.
Friendly competition.
Yes.
And you've survived without being swallowed up by a major chain.
Well, I think the seasonality of that part, probably the bigger guys shy away a bit from our business model.
And it's been a winter up here, and they said, no, we're not fooling with that. Trust me, Michigan winters on Mackinac.
The whole idea of a business model where you close down for 6 months a year, and you're about 500 miles away from any major metropolitan area, which makes it hard to find qualified staff as well as convince guests to come up. But
I haven't gotten up here for a winter yet, but it's on my bucket list.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
I've seen
very
the pictures.
Quiet.
I got to do it.
Very isolated, though.
Yeah, I know.
But the beauty of this spot, looking out over the Straits of Mackinac, and this iconic structure sitting up here, I think, along with the fact that ironically in Michigan we ban automobiles, so we have the horses and bikes and walking, and the natural beauty of the island. That thank goodness our forefathers had the sense to make this Michigan's first state park. So 80% of the island is state park, which means guys like me can't overdevelop it or mess it up.
You'd never do that anyway, Mr. Musser.
And the properties that are on state park, that are privately owned but leased in the state, are all these beautiful Victorian homes, and they're required to keep them in that manner. And so, I think this setting, this lovely structure, And then I would like to see our brand of service and hospitality. I think traditions like wearing a coat and tie at night makes us unique. Maybe not for everyone, but for a lot of our guests, find that it's not stuffy. It makes a kind of a celebratory feeling to it.
Dan, you said something that I think is key, and that was the word service. Little word, but important word. If there's one thing I hear people grumbling about now is the lack of service in all sorts of things dealing with their everyday life, having to deal with automation all the time and speaking, answering a zillion questions before you can get to a real person. But even when they go to places, is the lack of service that maybe they were used to growing up. But you've got that here, and how much time do you spend impressing that upon your staff that makes the difference between someone coming back and someone spreading the word that you should go to the Grand Hotel?
Every day. I mean, I open the season with a full staff discussion, but that discussion goes on every day. That you can't say thank you to a guest or welcome to a guest enough, and the idea that our guests don't have to come here. There's a lot of other venues and options to them, and we're not inexpensive to get to or stay at. So we have to I feel it's our job to make our guests feel like they're walking into your own home. And if we can convey that to our guests, we'll survive. We'll succeed.
All right, you do something new every year,
yes.
And this year you rebuilt the porch. What's on tap for next year? You know yet?
We're going to continue. If we have another good summer, which looks like we are, we'll continue the fourth floor cupola suites. We'll finish, which will complete all those, and we'll have 6 2-bedroom suites with adjoining parlors on the fourth floor. They're just spectacular.
All right. And there are always specials to be able to entice people to be able to come here, correct?
Very much. Starting next week with our Lilac Festival, and then family added value days in the summertime.
All right, and your wife Marley still doing all of the painting?
She is, not as much. Our oldest child of 6 is graduating from high school, so maybe now she'll start to get a little more time.
You're a little busy. I've been there. I know what you're dealing with. Dan Mussey, thank you so much.
Thank you so
congratulations on this anniversary, and wish you many, many more.
Thank you. Thanks for including me.
All right, it's our pleasure. I think that's it. Did we miss anybody, Hector? All right, we got them all in. Thank you for joining us from the historic and beautiful Grand Hotel on Mackinac Island for this WXYZ-TV webcast, which was sponsored by Inca and IBEW. Back to you.